Hello there, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly tarot video forecast. This forecast is for the month of July. And of course, first what we're looking at is July the 1st through the 17th, and then we'll come back and do segment number 2 for July 18th through the 31st. I did go ahead and shuffle your cards and put them down on the table ahead of time just to save some time. So let's jump right in, Sagittarius. The first thing that we have showing up is your environment, and your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. Usually it's home, but it might be somewhere else, so you want to keep an open mind about that. And what I'm seeing is that there's something going on where you're trying to tie up loose ends and finish up something, reach a target, reach a goal, and be done with it. And I feel like you're just having a little bit of a hard time making that happen or actually accomplishing that, where you're just really able to wrap something up in and tuck it all away neatly and be done with it. The next thing that I'm looking at does talk to me about your subconscious leanings, and it's interesting what we have here because this talks about a situation where you had felt paralyzed, like you didn't know how to move forward, and where you needed to just sort of stop and slow down and think about this from every different angle. But now in your subconscious, you've come to that point where you have a solution for this situation. And now in your subconscious, you're just like, there's this sense of relief that you have the solution. And now I feel like you're just figuring out, okay, when do I actually act on this? How do I make this happen? I think there is that element of timing that your subconscious is really working on with actually enacting the solution that you've already come up with. Next thing I'm looking at talks to me, Sagittarius, about your learning style and also about your communication style during this particular time frame. So, learning style. I really feel like there's a whole lot of book learning going on where you're learning from something that is the written word, whether it's on your Nook or, it's a PDF that you're downloading. There are several PDFs that you're downloading to learn from, or whether it's an actual, tangible book right in front of you. But I do feel like a lot of your learning that you're doing at this point has to do with the written word. I feel like some of you Sagittarians are preparing quite literally for some type of test or a quiz or some type of state board or, something like that. But there's definitely this preparation, this sense of preparation and excitement that I'm picking up off of this card right now. La da da da, communication style. I think that when you're communicating during this time frame, you're very much direct and to the point. However, I also feel like you're holding off on some of your communication. There are some things that you're afraid if you communicate them, you'll hurt somebody's feelings, and you want to be polite. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So there are some things that you're keeping close to the chest, but what you are communicating is very much direct and to the point. Nobody can miss what it is you're trying to say. And I will say also some of your communication, especially in writing, could be very long. Some of you could actually be writing out a thesis. That could be what I'm seeing here. But others of you could just be writing very long messages to somebody, or you could actually be even journaling to sort of help yourself get through some things. But there is this sense of some really long messages being put down on paper. Or maybe typed on the computer, but written word, even in your messages that you're sending out, communication that's going out, and also in learning has to do with written word right now. All right, Sagittarius, next thing I'm looking at talks to me about work. So Sagittarius, here's the thing. I think that in work you really don't have a lot of control. Everybody else sort of has say-so, or at least there's a lot of other people that sort of have say-so. And I think that this is a really frustrating situation for you, especially because one of the people who is a key player in your work situation and who has a lot of influence over you can have some very strong narcissistic tendencies, which means it's really hard to please this person. Just as soon as you think you figured out what you can do to make them happy, next thing you know, they're changing those standards. So I see work as being really frustrating right now, and not because of the work itself as much as because of the people that you're working for, or the person that you're working for, depending what your situation is. Next thing that comes up talks to me about those things that are being expanded in your personality right now. Sagittarius, I feel like you are coming into some kind of situation or place where you're feeling like you can't share all the information that you have. And I feel like for some of you, you've just made a promise to somebody that you're not going to be sharing information with them about somebody else. So this could be that, you know, you're a mutual friend to a couple that's having trouble, and one of them is saying, listen, I need somebody to talk to, but you can't tell so-and-so, you know, or you can't tell anybody. This is kind of what this feels like to me, like you're sort of caught in the middle with all this information that you would like to be able to help people with, but you are not able to because you've committed not to. For a few of you, this is your own secrets or your own information that you're not sharing, but I really feel like that's 20% or less of you. For a lot of you, you're just carrying around other people's secrets. Now, next thing I'm looking at talks to me about those things that you stand for. So there is a grumpy, for most of you, this is going to be a male, although this is a general reading, so that's not going to apply to everybody. But if this is not a male, this is going to be a female who has a very assertive personality. Okay, and so this is somebody that you're actually defending or standing up for. And it's easy to see why this person would need defending or standing up for, because this is somebody who can be blunt to the point of injuring somebody's pride, self-esteem. They just have no tact. They could handle things in a much better way. Even if the person that they're talking to or talking about is at fault and this person is technically not saying anything that's not true, there are so many better ways to handle something like this. And this person is very intelligent. They could have figured out a better way to handle it if they wanted to. I don't feel like they did want to. I don't feel like they felt the other person deserved it. But I do feel like you're standing up for this person. So somebody is coming to you complaining about this person, or confronting you about, you know, well, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you stop this person? Why did you disagree with this person? And I think that, you know, once you've had this conversation with this other person about the person who could have been more tactful, I think they see you as sort of holding back. Like the person that comes to you that makes you defend this person, basically, they see you as holding back, as not being really completely truthful, not sharing all the information that you know, and, you know, just being reserved and a little bit cold to this person that's coming to you with the complaint or with, you know, the confrontation. Next thing that I'm looking at does talk to me, Sagittarius, about the lesson or experience that's going on during this time frame. It looks to me like you've got a situation coming in where you're finding out something you really don't want to hear about either money or about material goods. So some kind of news about, you know, maybe an invoice is a little bit bigger than you expected it to be. Maybe you weren't expecting an invoice for something and it shows up. You know, something along those lines. Something you weren't expecting to have to pay for. All of a sudden you do. You know, something like that. Okay, so that's the experience, is hearing something that you would rather not hear about money or about material goods. As you're doing this, I feel like this is a message that comes in that you take a little bit personally, because as you're incorporating this into your life, what's going on is it's showing up that you are not very happy about this. And so you could be even disputing this message that comes in, but definitely you're not happy about it. And I think in the end, I don't think a dispute goes very far here at all. I think what you end up doing is just doing whatever you need to make sure that this news is covered and taken care of, so that it's not hanging over your head as you move forward. So whatever this is, it can't be too big if you're taking care of it that quick. All right? And then the next thing that we have coming up does talk about coming into like the 16th, the 17th of July. Looks to me like you're going back to some type of situation or relationship where before you were feeling like you were being depleted. Now you're going back to this thing in hopes that things are going to be different this time. So I'm going to hope it with you. I hope it is different this time, and I hope it's worth going back. And I'm going to say thank you for being here for the first half of the month. If you need some more specific information, feel free to book a private reading with me. And thank you to all of you for being here, for liking, for sharing, for thumbs ups, and for booking those private readings and private Reiki sessions. I'm going to take a little break, and when I come back, we're going to look at the second half of July for you, Sagittarius. See you in a second. Welcome back, Sagittarius. This time we are doing July the 18th through the 31st. So once again, I have the cards already on the board. Let's just jump right in. First thing I'm looking at is your environment, which is anywhere you have energy or effort invested, usually home, but you want to be kind of open-minded about where that might show up. And it looks like there are a lot of things, and it may be a little bit hectic and chaotic in your environment right now because there's just so much going on that needs to be taken care of. Next thing I'm looking at talks to me about your subconscious leanings, Sagittarius, and it looks to me like you are thinking about this idea that you would like to be more independent, more self-sufficient, more creative, in other words, more able to be you. You're looking for where can you really get your mojo into your life so that you feel like, you know, you're doing what you were called to do, not just what everybody expects you to do or wants you to do right now. So that's what your subconscious is working on. As far as right now learning style and then also communication style, I do think that there's something going on where you are learning from somebody who is older than you, somebody who has more experience than you. So there's somebody who you look up to that I feel like you're kind of learning from them. You're listening to the stories that they're telling, and you're kind of listening for their wisdom. You're allowing their wisdom to come out in the conversations that you're having with them. And I think that it's really comforting for you to be with this person and to pull away the messages and the lessons from these conversations to help you move forward. I think this person is somebody who makes you feel really reassured that, you know, life goes on no matter what kind of happens in the middle between birth and death. As far as your communication style, Sagittarius, I really feel like you've got boundaries on your communication right now. You're willing to communicate up to a certain point with just about everybody in your life, but then after that, you've almost got to have like a special passcode to find out information from Sagittarius. So once again, we have that sense coming up of there's just information that you're just not sharing with people, but I don't think you're not having conversations. I think you are talking to other people. You know, there's things that you will talk about up to a certain point, and then once they hit that boundary, then that anything beyond that is not going to be shared or talked about. At least not by you. All right, next thing I'm looking at does talk to me about work, and so everything is really picking up at work. At least it is from what it was. I think that things are still slow here. And so with things being slow, this is a good time to play catch up. All those things that have sort of been hitting the back burner because you were a little bit too busy before, now it's time to play catch up with those, because this time when there's slow communication coming back and forth, that's not going to last very long. Next thing that I'm seeing talks to me about that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now, Sagittarius. And what we have is a card that tells me that you're manifesting exactly the opposite of what you actually want or what actually makes you happy. And so whenever this card comes up, it's really important that you know, you do what you can to switch that energy up, because we'd rather not see that, right? Obviously. So what this card tells me is that if we're manifesting those things that we really would rather not see in our lives instead of those things we want to see, then we're not focusing on the right thing. We're not putting our thoughts around the right thing. And so we're actually more worried about those things that make us fearful or make us anxious than we are hopeful about those things that we want to actually see take place in our life. So the key here to switch up this energy and make my card a liar, which is what I want you guys to do, is to make sure that you're focusing on those things that make you happy, those good things, those things that you actually want. Focus on those in a positive way. And when you have these worries, this anxiousness, these concerns show up, yeah, sometimes we have to deal with them, and so you have to think about them long enough to deal with them, and then as long as you've dealt with it to the extent it needs to be dealt with, then let it go. Don't be talking about it. Don't be sharing it with somebody else. Don't be magnifying that energy, because that's not the energy you want to magnify. Magnify something positive, okay? That way you can manifest positive. Next thing I'm looking at does talk to me about those things that you stand for. I do think that there is somebody who's made some kind of sweet gesture towards you, in your life right now, and I think that somebody has kind of asked you to explain, why did you let so-and-so do that? Or why did they do that? Or, something along those lines. They're a little suspicious of this sweet gesture that was made towards you by somebody else. And so I think after you have defended this person or their actions, what comes up is that the person who was suspicious now just feels like, oh, okay, maybe that was okay. And I think that the key word for most of you is maybe that was okay. I don't think this person is just like forgetting all about it. I think they still have a little bit of suspicion, but they also can see that maybe that suspicion is ungrounded. So they're in a little bit more of a wait and see attitude, but leaning more towards being open to your view or your perspective of the situation. All right. Next thing that I'm looking at does talk to me about the lesson or experience of this time frame. Sort of ties in with what I saw earlier about where you're growing and expanding, that, something's coming up that you thought you were going to be able to celebrate, and then it turns out that it doesn't actually happen, and there's not that reason for celebration that you thought for sure was going to be there. So like I said, once again, this ties in with that whole manifestation thing. This is another card that can be turned around by focusing on the positive and not wasting your energy, your thought energy, on anything that's negative. Focus on those positive things so that you can make both of these cards a liar. I would like to see 2 cards out of this spread be a liar. You guys can do it. You absolutely can. Now, next thing that I see coming up is that you do have somebody showing up from your past that is bringing some sweet memories with them, and I think that this is going to be a complete surprise to you. I think that's going to take you totally by surprise. So I think that's kind of fun. Actually, this looks like a happy surprise to me. And then once we get to the end of the month, Sagittarius, what I see is you're realizing that there's something that you need to accomplish or to do. And this is something that is kind of tedious, kind of mundane, something you don't have to really put a lot of creativity into. So I don't feel like this is something you're really thrilled about doing. As a matter of fact, I do think that once we see you at the end of the month, you're thinking about, who could I actually pay to do this for me? And they would actually do a good job and I wouldn't have to worry about it. Okay? So that's what we've got coming up for you, Sagittarius, for the month of July. Thank you very much for being here. I'm looking forward to reading for some of you between now and the next video. And everybody, I just want to say thank you so much for just viewing this video, first of all. And then if you put a thumbs up and you share, like bonus, that's wonderful. Thank you. And also to those of you who are ordering private readings and private Reiki sessions, thank you, thank you, thank you. Every single level of support is one more level of support that helps me to keep doing what I love to do for my living. So thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic month. Peace out.